Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you guys can see my screen now. I think we had an issue with the audio on the first portion of the webinar. Angela was pretty much introducing the webinar and the topics that we have for today. So thank you, everyone, again, for joining us today in this webinar on CMS features that provide personalized customer experience. My name is Eduardo Moraes. I'm a Sitecore MVP. And I'll be speaking on the features available on Sitecore CMS. And later we'll have Peter speaking on what is available on Campaing CMS. So content management systems, or CMS for short, they have evolved a lot during the last few years. The major evolution, I would say, is for sure around the features involving digital marketing. Initially, we had a great focus on properly separating content from presentation. That was for sure a big jump from older website implementations that didn't have this notion of a content layer separated from a presentation layer, making it more difficult to have content being shared to different devices or even inside a same website, but with differences on the design of the website. Solid established CMS have now the separation well defined, and they are now shifting their focus more to the granularity and the flexibility of the content layer. A more granular, more modular content organization translate at the end in solutions that are easier in terms of content reuse, different areas of the site, and also easier to dynamically replace content and personalize this content, to present the right content according to the user needs. Also, the rich text editor interface was a great jump initially from previous text-based editors. And now the next big jump is to make the management of a page more than just being able to edit rich text blocks, but being able to define the experience each different user would have when interacting with a web page. So based, for example, on where they are coming from, whether any marketing campaigns were triggered, are involved, any preferences that they have demonstrated implicitly or explicitly in their profile and in their interaction with the website. To achieve that, we have evolved from a rich page-based template, I would say, that would have a web form to edit selected metadata to a component-based approach now. And this component-based approach now, more like you have a layout for your page, but you can also compose it by combining different components, and on each component, your page being able to define which content should be presented on that component according to the audience that is visiting the page. All this now is easier to achieve with embedded digital marketing features on the CMSs that we'll be talking about today. If in the past we needed to integrate our CMS with one or more external solutions for digital marketing to have all this happening, now the most preeminent CMSs in the market, they have all of the box, I would say, in its core set of features. Digital marketing features that we'll be referring and we'll be talking about in this webinar, they encompass, but they are not limited to, as for example, user profiling, content tagging, content personalization, multivariate tasks, management of marketing campaigns, and the generation and visualization of reports on analytics data. Sitecore is a global leader in customer experience management and a preferred CMS and digital marketing platform for many corporations of different segments. It is based on the idea that the CMS should not just manage content, but help you to better know every customer visiting your site and help you shape the experience the they have when browsing your site's content. Sitecore has really, I would say, pushed the envelope during the last years on providing features to help companies to actually drive more business with their online presence. It is currently on its version 8 and has even its name changed from Sitecore CMS to Sitecore Experience Platform to better reflect the type of solution it actually is. The model behind that is, again, know every visitor or customer, own the experience, delivering relevant content based on what they're looking for, and with that, you create customers not only for a single interaction, but for life, building an effective relationship with your customer base. It has evolved from CMS platform, as I said, into a more powerful experience and marketing tool that is today. For this continuous improvements made it in its different versions along the years. Personally, I started working with Sitecore in 2007. It was version 5.3. And as I have mentioned before in other webinars, at that time, the main focus was really on the development of form-based templates. It had at that time already a solid, robust .NET API, good for developers, but it was not focused on digital marketing yet. It was really only after Sitecore 6 that we had OMS, the Online Marketing Suite, and the focus started to shift from page-based templates to a more granular approach, a more component-based approach. OMS later became Sitecore DMS, and it's now blended on Sitecore 8 with profiles, goals, campaigns, all integrated. And the whole system is now called Sitecore Experience Platform. And it comes with a non-SQL XDB, using by default MongoDB to store all the analytics data, which makes it more scalable, makes it prepared to manage big data on sites that have a lot of traffic, so it's more robust per se. The Sitecore Experience Platform, it provides us with a way to apply what we call profile cards to the content. These profile cards, they are based on traditional marketing personas, and they help you to define which content is relevant for the different audiences that your site has. Content is then presented on your visitors' profile and behavior using implicit and explicit personalization. Present what is the most applicable content accordingly, allowing your team to be more strategic, I would say, about the content that is presented and letting you actually measure the results to ensure you're actually achieving the results you want, the business goals that you have with your website. So here we have an example of what would be a profile configured in Sitecore. In the screenshots presented in this slide, we have Sitecore's interface. This particular example here would be applicable to a travel site with different options for vacation packages. It may have packages that are more appealing to business people, other that are more romantic, and also summer packages. So we have here a persona and a profile card created for customers browsing content that are related to sunny vacation, maybe the Caribbean. So someone looking for outdoors and sun. Once you have the profiles defined, created by our marketing team and configured in Sitecore, you can then apply these profiles to the pages of your site. So you can tag content with these profiles by editing the profile cards associated with the Sitecore items or pages that are present on your site. You can apply as many profile cards you want to a page, and also to as many pages where applicable. This way, as users they browse the site, Sitecore can start to match the type of content they are mostly visiting against the different profiles that you have defined. And doing that, it matches then the visitor to what would be the most applicable profile for that visit. And doing so, you are telling Sitecore that users browsing that specific piece of content may be potentially someone with that specific profile when you start tagging your content like this. So Sitecore will use that information to start to build the profile based on what the user is browsing and the page that's visiting. Content tagging is also used in Sitecore in a more traditional way, where you can tag your page with a custom taxonomy defined by you and your team. And that can be used for assembling content based on that taxonomy that was defined and facets. So you can use a search to bring together content that's related, as for example, related news or related products, etc. Once you have all profiles defined and configured and you have all your content tagged with these profiles, you can then use Sitecore to personalize the presentation of your content. This personalization is done using Sitecore rules on each different component of a page. So the process is simple actually. So I had it demonstrated in our previous webinar on Sitecore CMS. And you basically need to edit a Sitecore page, select the component that you want to apply, the rule, and apply one of the many out-of-the-box rules that are available in Sitecore to define how the component should be personalized, content should be presented for that component based on those rules. We have an example. The component would be a slide image. It was selected, and the personalization rules were also selected from a list of rules related to user's visit in this case. For example, let's say when in this visit, a specific campaign was triggered during the visit. So then display a different slide instead of the slide that is the default one. Other examples would be where a specific goal was achieved or triggered during the visit, the duration of the visit, which search keywords were used to arrive at that page, whether a specific asset was downloaded, GeoIP options by area, city, country, etc. Content testing like A/B or multivariate tests can also be configured in Sitecore. Such tests, they help the marketing team to understand which elements may have a better result over other elements, whether a specific banner or a different design on a call to action component could bring more conversion to your site. You just need to select the component that you want to apply, the component you want to have the test, then you go to preview, and you can preview your test with the different definitions for your component, define the test objective, and then once you're ready, you just hit start test, and it gets up and running, and the test will be managed by Sitecore. At the end, you will have, after some time, once you had enough visits, you can go back to your test and then look at the results and verify which variation had a better performance. So then you can decide on finish the test and just select the winner component, or make it a permanent option for that piece of content, or maybe try a new test, different variation, different components, different design. Campaign management is also available, allowing you to define online marketing campaigns and generate links that can be used to attach to your URL sent in your campaign material. Could be a mail, a tweet, a post on Facebook, any kind of campaign. Just need to append the campaign link field generated by Sitecore, and once someone hits that page with that particular link, the campaign will be triggered and Sitecore will start to compute that campaign. So using the campaign links, you can later verify which campaigns got more visits, which groups of campaigns had more results and better performance, to measure which campaigns are working better and which campaigns are not working at all. And finally, in terms of reporting, as I mentioned before, Sitecore now stores its analytics data in an XDB base. By default, it's MongoDB. So all user interactions are in this NoSQL database. They are then transformed by data analysis layer in a process called aggregation and mapped back to a SQL Server reporting-friendly database, making it easier for the production of queries and custom analytics reports. This is actually a continuous update process that is automatically done by Sitecore. So although it's all going to an XDB database, you don't really need to be worried about the specific knowledge on that, because it translates that content in manageable reports in a SQL Server database as well, that can later be used by Sitecore Experience Analytics, Experience Profile, etc. So now I'll make a Peter presenter, and Peter can also talk about the features that are available on Kentico's TMS. Peter?
Thank you. Thank you, Eduardo.
No problem.
Okay. So a little bit about Kentico. It's based in Brno, in Czech Republic, and it's been around over a decade. It has been named a notable vendor in the Gartner's Magic Quadrant for the web content report, and you can see the numbers there as far as partners, how many websites are hosted on the platform. Kentico is really about, we feel that you're unique and important and you're not just a visitor to our site. So what Kentico does as a digital management platform is it empowers you to deliver targeted content, personalization. The same exact, or not exactly done the same way, but the same exact experience that Eduardo was speaking through, so I don't have to cover some of the same slides that Eduardo talked about. Like to think of it as an all-in-one CMS. So you can see the other components, but the component we're talking about today is online marketing. And in that module, you can see that we have a few things that we can do, just a few, but laid out well and not overwhelming at all. The first item we're talking about is similar to the user profiling that Eduardo was talking about, and it's personas. And personas are really who comes to your site, what are they doing on your site. We want to be able to track this. Everything that we do or that our visitors do to our site, we want to give them a personalized experience, and we want to convert them in some way, convert them to a client, but we want to drive them to a conversion event, and this is done through the personalization in Kentico. And where this starts is the personas, identifying who you are. And so you can see here in this sample, I just took a college site, and in a college site you have alumni, you have prospective students, staff, parents, a lot of different type of folks come to a college site. And so you can identify those personas. And once those personas are identified, you can go through your site and you can apply those personas to different categories. So for instance, when we're looking at, in this instance, at the personas, you can see that under products, we can actually apply personas to, for instance, smartphones and the type of persona that would actually be targeted to that smartphone. So you can take your content, you can tag it, and in this case you're tagging it with a persona, but you can tag it with other metadata as well. But in this way, when that persona comes and visits your site and they've been identified, we can target content to them. And this is not unlike Netflix, what Netflix does, what Amazon.com does. I was reading a stat today that using this type of targeting, you can convert 50% of your visitors to doing business with you in some way. And I'm getting that stat from reading about Netflix and Amazon and the average of how much of their information and what they sell is through targeted content, personalization. Okay. With the personas, you have a rules engine, and so you have the ability to go through and identify rules so that you can identify a particular persona. For instance, let's take the case of a prospective student. Maybe we want everybody who's 16 and above and visiting our site and who is not a student. Well, we can identify that rule and create that rule in our module. And when we do that, then when that person visits, and if they've been identified or they choose to identify themselves and they fall in that range, we can target content to them so that they're not seeing alumni news, for instance. They're seeing news that's appropriate for them. Or possibly the alumni visit the site and they want to see what's appropriate for what their interests are. It might be further courses, it might be newsletters, it might be events that are happening that are targeted to them. Well, this is done through the rules engine. And one of the most powerful items in the rules engine is being able to create macros. Because macros, as you can see on the screen, they are an English variant, so it's very natural language. And you can use that to actually create rules. You can create your own macros. So the engine is very powerful. But where else can we use these personas? Well, we can use them in newsletters, for instance. And we can target our information through adding personas for particular newsletters. So in the example I have here, we may have alumni that have been identified or are part of our personas, or the subscribers, and now we can target newsletters. We can target a lot more also. We can target campaigns, marketing automation. So there's a lot of things where personas flow throughout the product. And again, this is just content personalization. But you can see how far and how deep it flows throughout the product itself. Also, when you're thinking about who's visiting your site and not them just being just a generic visitor, we can use A/B testing and multivariate testing to actually simulate some conditions to see what resonates with our visitors. So an A/B test very simply is just having two pages tied to one page, and you can see in the screenshot that we can identify multiple pages very simply. We can edit those, and then with that we can get our analytic reporting from that information so that we can identify, again, what resonates. And if you identify what resonates with your visitors, then you can drive them again to a conversion event. And when you drive them to a conversion event, you may now have a customer for life. You may now have the ability to market even further to that person. So throughout the product, there's another module in the marketing, which is web analytics, and this also flows throughout the whole product. But in this case, you can see how many conversions were there based on the number of visitors in our testing. And so you have that capability to do that. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Angela so that we can finish out and give you back your day.
Hi, Peter. Thanks. Thanks so much, Peter and Eduardo, for the presentation. Right now, we will go to the question portion of today's webinar. And we do have a question. Eduardo, this question is for you. How is Sitecore positioned on the Gartner Magic Quadrant?
Okay, I think Peter was showing how Cantico is positioned. Sitecore is basically positioned as a leader on the CMS Magic Quadrant. There's also a quadrant specific for digital marketing where it's now positioned as a visionary and still a leader on the CMS one as well.
Great, thanks, Eduardo. And I believe that is it for the questions portion. Okay, we have another minute, so we'll just hang on for a second. If anyone has any other questions, go ahead and submit them through the question window. Okay, I think that's it for the questions portion today. Thanks again for joining us, everyone. Again, our next webinar is going to be on August 13th, 20 ways to power up your BI with Datazen. We hope you'll join us, and we'll be sending you some follow-up information regarding that webinar after today's presentation. So thanks again, Eduardo and Peter, and thanks for everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.